Recording is in progress.
Yeah, we are recording and it's in progress. If you guys are watching video and joining us right now, John just apparently got in from a blizzard by the looks of it.
Yeah, it was cold outside today. It's 29 degrees for like a high today. That's ridiculously cold.
Man is in a full winter jacket with the stocking cap and, probably pants and boots or something else.
Slight sponsorship by On the Line. They sell sneakers in the Bloomington Normal area.
Is he still doing that?
I'm not sure if he's doing that anymore or not.
Okay.
But he should.
Well,
'Cause
welcome
he made
back.
these sweet hoodies
All right.
or beanies.
Did he do hoodies too?
I think he did hoodies and like crop tops he had like a whole line.
Crop tops.
Yeah.
Did you get one?
For girls? Nah, but yeah, it was cool. He had a good line going. So
Guys, welcome back. This is the Real Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jacob O'Connor, and today I'm joined with my good friend, John Peterson.
did you have to think about it for a second?
Well, I was talking to John in the car right over here, and I'm like, I feel like in all of the big podcasts, they start giving each other nicknames, and it's kind of like a thing. So I don't think I want to roll with the nickname.
I don't think we need a nickname for this one. We got to think of a good nickname first.
I know
before we roll with one.
Yeah, you call you like the Fuzzy Yeti or something.
No.
Yeah, if you're looking, this camera light isn't the best. It's not very representative, but we're doing No Shave November, and
I got a little shadow going on over here.
I was gonna say, I don't know if that's coming from your jacket or if that's actual hair on you.
Well, I have to remove the hat because I can't hear very well.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll move the mic too. You better?
Oh yeah. Not quite as stylish. Can't see my eyes, but
yeah, that is a good point. It looked kind of dark under there.
You know what you need?
What
is a ring light?
I was thinking about that. Yeah,
somebody was selling that in our apartment complex.
Well, shoot, man,
you missed out.
Should have hopped on it.
Missed out.
This episode is really meant to be a recap of my run that I had last weekend and discuss some upcoming stuff that we're looking into, but we've kind of gotten off on a tangent here in the beginning.
We haven't, dude.
What's new though?
What's new with me?
No, I understand. What's new? Getting off on a tangent.
Like, what's new with me? I don't know. Jeez. But
yeah.
All right. So how was the run, man? We'll start off with have you done a training kind of recap of what you guys did training wise?
I feel like we've hit it in a little bit. Like of some of the episodes, we did that with Jennifer. Talked about a little bit with Bryce. We signed up 5 weeks before race day. But then you taper for about 2 weeks before the race. That gives you 3 weeks. And I got really sick for about one of the weeks. So really, I trained about 2.5 weeks for my first ultra marathon. And so that was, honestly, it was enough. We got the job done.
Yeah, seems like it.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to describe your training, or are you just going to leave it at that? I mean, your build up, that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's some things that I'll leave to talk about with Evan and myself, because Evan's going to come here in Wichita in a couple months. Evan's my cousin who I ran this with, and we're going to do like a full breakdown, analysis, recap, and whatnot. But for training, him and I just kind of looked at stuff on the internet and said, here's our rough game plan. I mean, it was really kind of uncomfortable. We had no clue what we were doing, and so we just put down some numbers. Let's run a couple miles every day, and then on Sundays, let's go out for a long run. And we did our best to stick to that, but I would say we were not very educated trainers.
I mean, yeah, it seemed like you guys had it down to a science, though, for the most part. I mean, after the first couple of weeks, you guys kind of got in a trend and just kind of flowed, I think.
Yeah,
what it seemed like from my end, anyway.
The main way we'd set it up would be Mondays are recovery days, stretch, lift, everything, because you have a long Sunday run. Tuesdays would be go run a couple of miles easy, maybe 5 or 6. Wednesday, walk 2 or 3 miles, but like a speed walk. Thursday, go out for an 8 to 10 mile run. Friday, run a couple. Saturdays are optional. You can take them as a stretch day if you want it. And then Sunday, go out for anywhere between a half marathon and 30 miles. And so the week before I signed up for the race, I did a half marathon out of the blue. It was just kind of me going out and running on my own. It went terribly, but I got the 13 miles done, and I kind of got like a runner's high that I feel like kind of sparked this whole thing a little bit. And then signed up for the race. My long run was a half marathon, that next weekend, and then the following weekend, ooh, these numbers aren't gonna add up. I ended up doing something like a half marathon, 20 miles, 21 miles, another half marathon, 30 miles. Like, those were my long runs over that 2.5, 3-week training period. That's what it ended up
You,
being.
did you end up going a marathon just on its own, or
I
was
did
it just was? Oh my god, it was incorporated into the 30, I guess.
Yeah, I just ran through the marathon for the 30. That was more of like a mental thing because you and I and Carter Nelson and Ethan Sturm did that impromptu marathon a couple years ago,
Yeah,
and it was really difficult, and go very well. And so mentally training for an ultra marathon, I wanted to just get through 26. And I wanted to do it pretty easy. And so that 30 was a big mental win. I think that really carried me because for a lot of the ultras, it's not like I'm going to go out and run 50 miles before my 50-mile race. I'm not going to go run 100 before a 100-mile race. You really want to do anywhere from 40 to 60% of race day distance. And so getting 60% felt pretty good and gave me a lot of confidence.
yeah. Sorry, I got a little bit of a cold going on here. I
Yeah.
gotta take a little bit of an impromptu just sneeze break.
Sneeze break. Yeah, John's had the sniffles, his voice is a little bit lower,
It is.
a
I
little
think
under
it's
the
sexier too, actually.
You wanna take a poll on that?
I don't think we need to take a poll on that.
Okay. I might do an Instagram poll on that
We'll
later.
just leave it. We'll just leave it at that. But I think it's sexier.
I don't
Anyway, back to your
I
race.
was gonna say,
So
let's get off that train.
I don't know how in depth you want to go here, but we got kind of the training. What were you eating during training? I don't know. What did your recovery slash eating look like during training?
Yeah, it was nutrition was handled by Evan. He's had a lot more experience with like supplements and like understanding what they do. And so I pretty much just ordered what he told me to order and then ate it as directions said to on the label. Uh, and a lot of that consisted of a lot of Belvita bars, a lot of Cliff bars, a lot of electrolyte drinks. I had the Element drinks, as you guys saw on the Bryce Lobb episode. We did a live taste testing of like their habanero flavor or something. And then I think it was mango chili actually. And then I had Cliff electrolyte chews, or there's like the equivalent of the gels people eat on the runs, but they were the chews. And then salt tablets, like little pills that you pop like every couple miles or whatever.
Popping pills during the race?
Yeah, man. It was weird because during the race, I was super hydrated. Like, it was never really an issue, and I had been training in anywhere from 50 to 70-degree weather here in Wichita, and the day of the race in Southern Illinois, they got a cold front, and it ended up being, like, 28 degrees. They got a bunch of snow overnight, and not a bunch, but they got snow overnight, and it was kind of uncharted territory. Like, that was the first time I was running, like, very cold. We were very bundled up, had on a lot of layers. Um, yeah, it was a new experience, but you didn't sweat as much, and that was the good trade-off. But the downside to that was because we walked a couple of miles, our regimen was run 3, walk 1, and your muscles would get so cold on that walk 1 that it started to get a little bit harder for me to run that next mile following it. It took a little bit longer for the engine to heat up is kind of what I was telling Evan.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And at the pace that you were running, I mean, what was your average mile? Like when
Uh,
you were running, what was your average mile time?
But we were running, we were anywhere between a 9:30 and a 10:30, I would say. And
It's
then
pretty quick, honestly.
we would the miles that we would walk were anywhere between a 14 and a 16, I would say. So
Yeah.
there's some variance. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, when I think of I think when anybody thinks of running, you think of, okay, let's see how fast I can do this
Yeah.
thing. It's like how fast can I run a mile, right? That's the standard. It's 7 minutes,
Mhm.
8 minutes is a lot of people. When you're talking about running a 9 minute to 11 minute pace, say, how is that like on your mental state? What are you thinking when you're trying to run slow?
It's difficult because like we had so much adrenaline at the beginning, we just wanted to take off. And one thing that I didn't anticipate for is like this is a big race. It's the Tunnel Hill 50 and 100, which Tunnel Hill is one of the flattest ultra marathon races. And so this is where a lot of world records get set. And so the amount of people that came out to run this race, there was this one guy that we met from Poland. This is his first time in the United States, and he picked to go to Vienna, Illinois to run this because he was an ultra runner and wanted to get a new PR. I've got the little magazine right here because I don't want to butcher anything, but they had former world record runners. They had Camille Herron, who apparently is a really good ultra marathon runner, and just a lot of really big names in the ultra community. And they were actually there running that day. And so one of the things that I didn't anticipate, actually, here, let me read you about Camille. I hope I'm saying that right. She's called the Queen of Ultra Running. So she is the 50 to 100K and the 24-hour world champion. So there's 3 different races, the 50, 100, and then the 24-hour challenge. She also holds the 50-mile, 12-hour, and the 100-mile, the 50-mile, the 12-hour race, the 100-mile, and the 24-hour. All 4 of those she holds world records in. Just insane.
And for people that don't know, the 12 and the 24 is how many miles you can run during that period of time.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Like 12 hours, how many miles can you go? 24 hours, how many miles can you go?
Gotcha.
I believe that's what they're trying to say here. But for some context, she runs a 2 hours and 37-minute marathon. She's a 3-time U.S. Olympic trials qualifier for the marathon. She's the world champion for the 50K. She's the world record, men or women, for the 50-miler, or she did previously. World champion for the 100-miler, and the world record for the 12-hour run. Jeez, dudes, this says in 12 hours she ran 92 miles.
Damn, that's quick.
Yeah.
That's very quick.
So my first ultra time with Evan ended up being, I think, 11 hours and 6 minutes or something like that. Her 100-mile time was 12 hours and 42 minutes.
So about an hour more, or an hour and a half or 2 hours more.
Yeah, she basically ran double the distance Evan and I did in the same amount of time.
So, I mean, when we're talking about mile pace, that's like,
she's running about a 6.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It's insane for 100 miles. And that's the world record.
Jeez. That's insane.
So yeah, she was there. She ran. They had a bunch of other runners there too. And what I didn't anticipate was at the beginning, like this giant clog effect, because everyone's at the same starting line.
Right.
They're all following the same spot. It took a good 2, 3, maybe even more, honestly, like maybe 4 or 5 miles for that congestion to clear out. There was a lot of where you had to like walk and barely jog, and like it was packed. There were so many people.
Were you in the middle, back, closer to the back than the front?
Middle. Yeah. I'll pull up a picture here. Maybe this will do some justice. Let me share my screen. This is from my Instagram that I had posted right after race day. Okay. I don't know why it always does that.
I don't think we need to plug that.
Okay. So here's my Instagram. This is my race day post. And this last picture here, I don't know if it does it. Okay.
I guess not.
There it is. I don't know if it does justice, but there was a lot of people there to run.
Yeah, it looks like there was a lot of people.
And this was at the beginning. So the front would have been up here towards the trees, and we're about in the middle right here at this point. So yeah, it was packed, man. People came here internationally. Like I said, they came to the U.S. for the first time just to do the race. People from all over the states came in. It was a huge race. And so once you got out of the pack, I mean, that probably affected our pace time a little bit. And then it was also, since it had snowed and it had melted from people running on it, there was mud everywhere and slick spots and ice. And it was a lot of elements I was not used to running in.
So this was a full pavement. There wasn't any dirt sections or anything like that, correct?
No, I believe it's a trail run.
Was it a trail run?
Yeah. Or I don't know if they call it a trail run. It had trail running. So you started off at like this little park. So you ran across the street, and from crossing the street, you were on to, I guess, a trail. It was a dirt trail. There was elements where there's like concrete and cement at some spots, but yeah, I think a trail could be a fair term to use for it.
So it wasn't on pavement.
No, not for most of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I actually really liked running on the dirt. It was much softer on the joints, I felt. rather than being on concrete the whole time. A little bit more cushion.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. How did your feet hold up? I mean, I don't wanna get too far ahead of myself here, I guess, but how did your feet hold up throughout the race?
Really no foot pain. Um,
No change of shoes or anything?
no, I doubled up socks and I ran in shorts to start off even. No, I didn't. I took those off after the first. I ran in shorts for the majority of the run, but my feet really didn't hurt and they actually stayed pretty warm. I was concerned because we were going through a lot of puddles and snow and whatnot that my feet would get cold and then I wouldn't be able to feel them. I don't know if they went numb or what the deal was, but they were warm the entire time. And then at mile like 40, I was going to put pants on because at this point it's like 5 p.m. So it's starting to get cold out. And I took my shoes off to put the pants on. And as I kind of like felt my socks, they were wet. And so I'm wondering if my feet went numb or if they were warm the whole time, but my socks were wet.
Well, as long as you didn't feel it, I mean, I guess that's
Yeah.
the best scenario there.
So I really had no problem with the feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, what else I don't know how like I said, I don't know how detailed you wanna go here, but what else was challenging for you during this race?
Uh
Mentally, physically, anything?
So since I wasn't used to running in the cold, Evan had some cold runs under his belt because he's from Northern Illinois, so it was a little bit different climate for him. But I I was having some pain miles like 8, 9, 10, 11, and it was like pretty concerning. I knew I wasn't gonna stop. I knew I was gonna finish the race, but it was like in the back of my knee, like that, maybe like the MCL area, and then like a little bit in the calves, maybe a little bit in the hamstrings. Everything just felt super tight and like not wanting to run, you know? And so I just kind of made myself power through that. I didn't really say anything to Evan. And eventually around the half marathon, 20 miles, somewhere around that range, everything had kind of figured itself out like I was hoping it would. And from then on, it was just kind of like you're just battling fatigue. That was really all it was. Um, Mentally, you get just I mean, what we said was it feels like we've been running since we were born. Like it just felt like all you know is that you've been running because you're literally doing it all day.
Jeez. I can't imagine running for that long. I mean, what are you doing for 11 hours to
You're
try to keep yourself busy?
you get bored, man.
I can
You
imagine,
get
yeah.
very bored.
And, I mean, running that slow, especially, I can imagine it's just like you run out of trees to look at, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, and it was beautiful too, and it was an area we didn't know, so like it was every new site was different, and the snow was beautiful. But what I will say is we didn't really listen to music too much. We probably listened to like an hour total of music out
Dang.
of 11 hours. But what we did do is I tossed on David Goggins' audiobook, Can't Hurt Me.
Hey.
We listened to that for probably 3 hours.
Wow.
So and that flew by. Whenever we listened to Goggins, that flew by. And it was funny how Goggins has made such an impact in this space because as we're running past people, they're like, you guys listening to Goggins? So that can't hurt me. Like everyone's sitting there quoting him, who's going to carry the boats? Can't hurt me. Stay hard. All that fun stuff. So
Dude, that's awesome.
yeah, it was great. But the majority of it, I mean, if we did 3 hours of Goggins, maybe an hour of music, that's 4 out of 11. We had probably 7 hours of talking in silence.
Wow.
A lot of it was just like neither of us put our headphones in and listened to anything. It was just us.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, I think I guess you're in that kind of mindset of we're getting this done. I don't really have to talk kind of
Yeah.
a situation.
But it wasn't like a grind mentality. It wasn't like when you're doing a heavy lift and you got one more rep to go and you're powering through it. Like that's a grind mentality. This was more like I have 40 more miles to run right now.
Right. Like I gotta get in a mental state that's not excited, keep the adrenaline down, probably
Yeah.
try to conserve some of that for the later parts of the run.
Yeah.
What are you consuming during the race in order to keep yourself hydrated, keep yourself from cramping, not messing with your stomach?
Yeah, they had aid stations every like 11 miles, 10 miles or so, and they do a great job. I appreciate all the volunteers out there. They had a lot of different food. So the first aid station, they had these Hawaiian rolls with melted cheese and bacon on them.
Dang, that
And
sounds fire.
they had buttered the Hawaiian rolls and then like put them in a pan so they got slightly like a little bit cooked on the outside. Oh my gosh, those things were
That
incredible.
sounds amazing,
That was my
dude.
favorite food of the whole day. I grabbed a bunch of those.
Ooh.
I had an ungodly amount of bananas. Evan commented on that one. I didn't realize it until we got done, but every aid station I was grabbing 1 or 2 bananas and I was nailing them. So hopefully that made a good difference for me.
Did you eat at it at the aid stations or did you take it with?
No, everything was on the go. We didn't the only time we stopped was either a bathroom break or to change clothes or whatever.
Gotcha.
So we just keep moving forward. We got that many miles to go.
Yeah.
But that was like the physical food I ate. I had grilled cheese at mile 40 because at that point it was about dinner time. It was so weird with like meals, man. It was such a different day. Uh, it was very strange, but a lot of my calories came from the uh the cliff blocks is what they're called. It's the chews
The
that you eat, the
chews.
electrolyte
Gotcha.
chill chews. Yeah. So I had one of you're supposed to eat. I don't want to mess this up. I think it's one every 10 minutes.
That's a lot of chews.
Yeah. So it might have been like 50 over the course of the run.
That's a lot of chews.
Yeah. And then you're supposed to take a salt pill, I think 1 an hour or something like that, or 2 an hour, 1 to 2 an hour, I believe it was. So I ended up having between 11 and 22 salt pills as well.
Jeez.
Uh,
I
I,
feel like your cholesterol is just through the roof at this point.
well, I burnt like 7,000 calories and
Jeez.
I was drinking a lot of water. I think the ratios were correct. I think my cholesterol's hopefully okay. But it was, oh, you know what else I did eat too? Shout out to
Holy blue.
Pinole Blue.
Yeah.
I ate their, I believe it was the azulitas.
Ooh,
They're little blue cookies.
yum.
So they had these packs. I need to get the people from Pinole Blue on here. We're supposed to connect soon, but basically the Tarahumara, an indigenous tribe in Mexico, we've talked about this, are the best natural runners in the world. They will regularly just run 100 miles either barefoot or with tire straps like on their feet. And that's all they'll do is just cut out a piece of tire, they'll strap it on and then run. And they kick Americans' butts whenever they do, these Leadville races and whatever else. And they're, a not very well known tribe. But then someone wrote a book about them, The World's Greatest Race That Was Never Seen, I believe was the name of it. And it covered the Tarahumara. Well, Eddie from Wichita his mom is actually from that same community as the Tarahumara. And so she grew up cooking a lot of those same recipes and the superfoods is what they called it to fuel the Tarahumara. And so Eddie started a company making these indigenous recipes that his mom had learned from the Tarahumara and commercializing them. And so I had gotten a pack of their azulitas, and it's probably a placebo effect, me just believing it, but I feel like those cookies made a huge difference. Every time I ran with them, I actually felt very solid.
Dang. And
Yeah.
they probably tasted good too.
They tasted decent. They were super healthy. So there's
Yeah.
gonna be the trade off a little bit with like taste, but you look at the ingredients and it's like, wow, these things are good for you.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome.
So I ate
That's
those as
incredible.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. That's sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had a good backing behind you. You want to shout out anybody
Oh
from,
yeah, yeah. Shout out to Aunt
shout out to the
Gina
crew.
and Uncle Bud, Evan's parents. They came out and were there the entire time. Um, really good moral support. It's kind of funny because they were way more concerned than Evan and I were. Like Evan and I were so locked in. It was like change the clothes, get running to the next spot, and they were like, "How do you guys feel? Like, what do you guys need? You have to be cold. Put this on." And I'm like, "Guys, I'm actually doing okay." Like the entire time, it was really interesting because they were so concerned. And at every aid station, they said, "Give us a rating out of 10. Where are you at? Just let us in." And every time my answer was 11 out of 10. Like I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I was in a little bit of pain early on, but honestly, it was great. And they did a very good job. I appreciated their morale. Aunt Gina was the photographer. She had a nice
Oh,
little camera
sweet.
out there snagging some pics. Um, and my dad showed up at mile 40. That was a big morale booster for me. Because at that point, I remember getting to like mile 26, which is like the halfway point, just a little bit over. And the next aid station was 11 hours. So it'd be mile 37. And then from there, you turn around and you're on your final stretch home. And I was like, I know if I can make it out there, I'll make it back because I have to go back no matter what.
Yeah. There's no other options.
Yeah. And so whenever I got out to mile 40 and I was 10 away at that aid station, my dad had just gotten there and it was very cool. His quote was, "Wow, you are in much better shape than I thought you were." He was expecting Evan and I to be dragging and whatever. I got there, it's like, "Oh, hey, dad, what's up?" Like all of us are in good spirits, walking around, just shooting the crap, laughing at stuff and whatever. Like it was a very good time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that experience, I feel like.
No, we got lucky. I mean, no chafing, no runner's diarrhea. There was no like major injuries, no real concerns. It was very good.
Do you attribute that to the training you did? Do you attribute that to the weather, the food you were eating?
A lot of it's like the food I was eating, but I would say a lot of it was like the mentality as well. I mean, I could have quit at mile 10 and probably gone MRI or something and, tried to validate it that way. But I think no matter what happened, Evan and I were just like so thrilled to finally be doing something that it felt like of such significance. Like this is something 0.03% of Americans will ever do. And it's something I've wanted to do for years. I felt like I was just kind of like in this almost flow state. And I don't want people to think that it wasn't difficult. It was incredibly hard. Like it was very mentally tiring, physically tiring. We were in a lot of pain the next day, but I was like so happy. It was like whenever we were doing the push-ups and pull-ups, and I told you I had this point where I was just like smiling because it was like, I'm out here. I'm doing it. Like I'm building this life resume. I'm doing exciting stuff.
Right.
And I think holding on to that really helped me a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Sounds like it was a fantastic time, even though maybe it wasn't, you know?
It's easier to look back on it and reminisce, but like those the pain that we endured together, like just brought Evan and I so much closer. And I feel like it really built me as a person as well. I feel like I'm much more like mentally stronger. Like I'm not as phased by things. I'm ready to rock. It's almost like a no excuses type of thing. Just get the job done. And I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, let's talk about the end of the race a little bit. I mean,
Oh
the
yeah.
last
I'll pull the gram back up for you.
yeah, pull up the gram.
So yeah, there's some stories to tell here.
Yeah,
And
let's talk about I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but the last 10 miles, let's say. I
yeah.
mean, what's going through your head? What's, you
So,
know,
so let's start with you guys, I'm screen sharing for those of you watching on Spotify. I'll also upload this to YouTube. But what we're looking at right here is a picture Aunt Gina took, which is super cool. It's probably my favorite picture. Um, it means a lot. It's the one of Evan and I walking into the tunnel. So Evan's on the left, I'm on the right. And at this point, it was about 4 p.m. We had just crossed the 40-mile marker. I just gotten to see my dad. And that tunnel is incredibly dark. It's very cool. They had like little glow sticks in there to help light it just a little bit, but
it,
everyone was shutting their lights off. No one had flashlights on. It was a very good metaphor for the amount of like darkness and tunnel that we were all facing together of like how difficult this was. And it was just Evan and I walking into this dark tunnel together. Like we had taken on this huge project together, this huge accomplishment. And he was the right person to do it with. We had each other's back every step of the way. We made each other laugh. We had good conversations. And like it felt like we were going into battle.
right.
And I don't want to like diminish or make ourselves sound, that important or whatever. But to me, it was like a super cool picture of both of us, like, oh, this sucks. But we don't need to acknowledge it. We just need to keep going. And it's us walking into this dark tunnel. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it was super cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. Uh, I mean, as you get close, you want to pull up the picture of you guys finishing, or
Oh yeah, so it got super dark out. I don't think I posted any of it, but I had this one video of me with the headlamp on. You can't see jack squat, man.
geez,
Like it is pitch dark and you're on a trail, but it's also kind of like the woods. So you can't see anything at all. You have no clue really how far you are either because my Garmin that I've been wearing was picking up the extra miles that I was walking from going to the aid stations and going off
mm,
in XYZ. And so the run itself is actually an extra point 0.3 longer than 50 miles. And so all of this had accumulated to where mile like 48, um, we thought we were like a quarter mile away. And we were like, we're going to finish sub 11, which was our huge thing.
mm-hmm,
Evan had said, I think 15 hours is realistic. 12 would be great. 11 would be super hard. And I had said, my goal is 10. That's going to be super hard. More realistic is 11 or 12. And we were on pace to cross 50 miles at like 10 hours and 58 minutes. So I was super hyped for that. And then another runner had passed us and informed us that, hey, you guys have actually further to go because we had asked kind of what mile are we at. We were getting confused. And we were like, oh, we've got like another 2 miles at this point or something. It ended up being. And we were both in pain. It's super dark. And we were like, okay, Evan actually said, "We're not sprinting across the finish line. I'm afraid that that's how we'll get hurt or something like that." And I was like, "Okay, well then we better run up at least to that point. Like let's cross together." We decided we'll cross together, but we're not sprinting up at the end. And so we are walking because our ratio had ended up that we were walking on like mile 49, and then like the halfway point we'd end up running from there on. And I want to say about a mile out, we've been leapfrogging everyone because everyone's got their own splits. Some people are doing run 2 miles, walk one. Some people are doing run 3, walk one, run 4, walk one. Everyone's doing their own splits. We keep leapfrogging the same groups. And we'd gotten to this point where we had passed everyone up because we just finished running and now we were walking. And these 3 different groups passed us and leapfrogged us in that time. And it really wasn't sitting well with me. And we kind of both decided, hey, what if we just say, screw it, take off and finish what we started and pass these guys? And so Evan looked at me and he was like, let's go take some souls, referencing David Goggins.
Yeah.
And at mile 49, we took off and we started off and we were doing like a 9-minute pace. And it was like, oh my gosh. And then we just kept getting faster and faster and faster. And all of a sudden I looked down at my watch at one point and it had a 7:05 split cut. And so we were running a 7:05 pace on the 49th mile out of 50 miles, and we were just booking it. And we're about to cross together. We're about probably 25 feet away. And I see Evan make a little bit of an extra stride. And I'm like, this guy's going to try and beat me. And so I took off at a full sprint just at the same time he did, and caught on camera by my dad of us sprinting across. I ended up beating him. I just barely ended up beating him. Like they actually clocked us at the exact same time, but if you look at the film, my chest crossed right before his did. And so here's the video of us sprinting at the end. It's probably up here actually.
I think it was like the first or second one. Yeah, there you go.
It doesn't look like we're running that fast in the video now that I watch it, but it felt so much faster in the moment. I guess when you run a 7:05 mile, it doesn't really look like you're sprinting,
Right.
but I felt like I was sprinting.
Yeah,
And
dude, that's awesome. That's so sweet that you guys raced at the end for that.
yeah, that's how I wanted to finish the race, and I was very happy with that finish,
Yeah.
and I was very happy that Evan did it with me. He was strong the whole time. He was a good person to run with for
Yeah.
sure.
Seems like you guys finished strong, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I didn't look back, and I kept telling Evan, the worst thing would be to finish this and feel like I have something left in the tank. Like that is not the feeling I want at all.
Right.
And so when I got done, I did not feel like I had anything left in the tank, and that was the right feeling. It was
Yeah.
good.
That's pretty sweet, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Well, it's great to hear about these stories. I mean, I can't wait till the podcast with Evan comes out where you
Yeah.
guys go deep dive into the analysis of everything.
We're probably going to argue over a lot of the details because that's who we are. But
Right.
yeah.
I'm sure that photo finish is going to get
Oh,
a little
dude,
bit of analysis there.
I'll have everything pulled up. I'll have it ready to go.
Jeez.
But
Love it.
dude, after the mile 39, actually, or 40, that aid station, they had a bottle of Fireball. And I'm thinking to myself, who in their right mind wants a shot of Fireball right now?
Apparently somebody. Apparently somebody does.
I don't know if this is a common thing to do, but I took a picture with it. I was like, I can't believe they have Fireball sitting here. The only
Did you
thing,
not take a shot?
no, the only thing I wanted was to grab a bite to eat and get some more water into me. I mean,
Fair enough.
I did not understand that. But after the race, um, we ate just a ton of Chick-fil-A and cookies and
Just as
ice
much as
cream.
you guys could pile in.
Dude, we got everything down. And we had this really cool moment. We were in so much pain afterwards once our body was like, okay, you're done. And our bodies were done. And we both went to bed in my basement and woke up on the couch. It's a big one, like one of those sea couches. You've seen it.
Yeah.
And I wake up at like 4. I look at my phone. It says it's like 4 or 4:45. Like, oh my gosh, dude, I am starving and so thirsty. Like I'd never eaten or drinking in my life. I don't know if I was dehydrated or what the deal was, but I mean, I probably was.
Yeah, I'm sure you were.
I was,
I was probably dehydrated after a 50-mile.
I was so famished. I sit up, I look over, and your eyes start like blinking, and you're like trying to focus in. Evan is sitting there with a bag of his mom's homemade cookies, munching away at 4:45 a.m. And I was like, he's like, "You want some?" I was like, "Yeah, pass them over."
Yeah, throw me a couple cookies, man.
And so we sat there at like 4:45 a.m. munching on cookies and down in water and having a full conversation.
Jeez. I mean, yeah, I don't know what time you guys went to bed, but it was probably
Yeah, we went to bed at like Evan went to bed earlier. I had a hard time falling asleep because my body had just been through a lot, but I think I fell asleep like 11:30 maybe.
oh, that's not bad then. You
Uh,
probably were in pain though. Were you in pain a lot
yeah.
that first 24 hours afterwards?
Oh yeah, definitely. Evan said it took him like 5 minutes to get up off the couch, walk up the stairs, and grab the cookies from the counter. It took me about 20, sorry, it took me about 2 minutes to get up from the couch, grab a water bottle, and walk to the restroom.
Jeez.
Like we were in slow motion. If there was a wall, if there was anything we could grab, we were grabbing it to help ourselves move.
Jeez, man, that's insane.
Yeah. So we were in a lot of pain for 24. He recovered a little bit better than I did. Uh, it by about, I don't know, like 36 hours or so, I was feeling pretty good. We ended up doing an ice bath I did a 10-minute ice bath, a 10-minute hot shower, followed by a 3 or 4 minute ice bath because you should always end on cold and let your body heat up on its own. And we did that, and the next day, like it was like everything was all better.
That's awesome.
Like this week, it's been weird. I was talking about this earlier. I'm 6 days out from having it. So at the time of this recording, it's Friday. I was 6 days out of that 50-mile ultra, and I played basketball yesterday for an hour. I mean, yeah, I was fatigued and it was a little bit hard, but like I was able to play basketball. I was able to run. Today I lifted really hard and had a good sauna session. I'm walking around. There's no limp. There's nothing. Like I feel very solid, and I'm honestly just kind of dumbfounded at how good I feel.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, I think your recovery probably really helps that. Just knowing what your body needs after a run like that or after any
Yeah.
sort of training, like the ice bath and heat probably really helps.
Yeah. I love those different types of like, it's like a natural therapy, like the sauna, the ice bath, the cups that you have, all of those things. I really enjoy doing them.
Yeah, and I think it makes a big difference. I mean, for me, I know, we've started doing ice baths and saunas and stuff like that. It's pretty incredible what you can recover from in a
Yeah.
short period of time, just giving your muscles what they need,
Oh yeah. That mental challenge too. I mean, I was in the sauna today. It was only 180, but I was in there for 25 minutes, and maybe I need to spend more time in the sauna, but it was kicking my butt, dude. I was in there stretching out, and I had to go to war today a little bit to get through that sauna session, but I feel so good after it.
Yeah, you get like a euphoric feeling almost afterwards, like at the end.
Yeah, and your body also is just like you can tell a difference of how you physically feel. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what the body can do.
Like it's like if I would have taken ibuprofen, it would take an hour or 90 minutes for me to feel better. If I take an ice bath and a sauna, it's like 10 minutes. It's really weird how quick that feeling comes in.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's something that I have adopted and try to get my family to adopt. And we're still working on that, but I mean, I think everybody should kind of adopt something on their own that makes them feel a lot better
Yeah.
and healthier in their life. It's pretty cool when you can find that thing or those couple things that help you really kind of get in the mindset as well as like recover in a timely manner.
And it's like I don't feel bad about spending the time on it because of all the BS that I do on a daily basis. I mean, we all have it. I'm not going to feel bad about a sauna session or an ice bath because that is an investment in my longevity and my short term health as well, in my opinion. Are you going to sneeze?
I feel like I have to sneeze, but now I won't
Let me,
probably.
if you sneeze, man, I got your volume right here. I'll turn it down.
No, it's okay. Oh man, I almost sneezed, but I think I'm good. I think it subsided. But
Jeez. You're
yeah,
going, you're going through it right now, man.
I am. The sauna I think helped, but just need a little bit of time, some good sleep and good water and get over this little sinus thing I got going on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Are you had done that 12-mile run with me.
right.
You've expressed interest in running a little bit more post your bench goal here coming up.
Right.
Are you planning to do a marathon or anything?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I mean, I think I'm not in any rush necessarily to do it. It's going to take a lot to kind of get me to that spot, I think. But I really want to get that bench goal first. I've been talking about that for a couple months now. Kind of just got back in the gym today after kind of tweaked my back a little bit and stuff and just kind of recovered and took a little break. I think I needed it. But got back in the gym today, felt really good. Hopefully can get that bench goal in the next month or two and then, see what's next for me. I think it'd be awesome to get a marathon going with a group of us or something like
Yeah.
that. I think that'd be fun, but I'm really in no rush right now. Um, yeah,
Do you have any desire to go past a marathon?
I think eventually, I think a marathon is a good stepping stone for me, just because I mean I haven't run and I don't run, so I I feel like I need to just ease into it a little bit and stuff like that.
Well, you've been bulking for like almost a year at this point, and so we've
Yeah,
had the running joke of John doesn't do cardio,
yeah, I don't do cardio.
and it's actually been like so true.
Yeah, what really scares me is we played basketball yesterday, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
and after the first game, I was gassed. So like the 12-mile run, I did that. It was fine. I was definitely not feeling great afterwards,
Mhm.
but I think if I gave myself a month, I could really train and be in decent shape for a marathon. So maybe in the next month, maybe in
Yeah.
the next month and a half, 2 months, I think that'd be a good goal.
I'm good to go, man. I'm ready. I
Yeah.
love doing this type of stuff with other people. Like whenever I was doing Murph or pull ups or this, like people were always reaching out saying, "Hey, I want to do something like this or something similar or exactly this." And I love seeing people like get into it and like get these new experiences and cross it off. And I'm really hyped to watch you on that marathon journey.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. It should be fun. It should be fun. I mean, I think after the after the bench goal, I know you've talked about this a while, but it's more like functional strength than it is like a bench goal or a squat goal or something like that. Because Cameron Haynes, we always talk about him and stuff, and he's got functional strength. I mean, he trains to go out and hunt
Yeah.
like in the wilderness and pull out 150 pounds of elk
Jeez.
out of the, at
Yeah.
7 miles out of
Yeah.
hike out of the backwoods. So I kind of want to get that functional strength at some point. And this bench goal, I'm going to be stubborn about it because I want to get it.
I
And
know.
it's something that I've been looking at for a while. But I think after that, I have to start looking at maybe something a little bit different. And it's so bad. But I always am in my head, like as I get older, I want to make sure that functional strength is there, because you look at people like who strength train for their whole lives. It's really not good for your body to
Yeah.
go like super heavy. Like,
Yeah.
and this is a really extreme example, and any kind of exercise is really good for your body and just the mental and physical strain. But you look at somebody like Ronnie Coleman,
Mhm.
he can't walk anymore.
No.
Like he's
Yeah.
using just why can I crutches. He's using crutches to
Yeah.
get around right now. So like there's a point where you want functional strength and strength that's going to last more
Yeah.
than I can lift 5,000 pounds.
Yeah, and it's weird too, like, I've noticed in high school, we could play basketball anytime we wanted to, like, no soreness after that first game, and you're ready to rock. No
Right.
really fear of injury, but now it's like, okay, I'm 21 now, haven't played competitive basketball sides intramurals, and it's you get a little bit more sore, and I also find that you have to find ways to incorporate that functional strength back into it because your Achilles aren't as strong as they used to be, your ankles, whatever the knee stabilizers. And so a lot of my training for the running and even as intramurals come back up has been like doing lateral movements, hopping on a one of those semi yoga balls and trying to balance, getting that ankle stability, like getting
Right.
everything primed and ready to go. And I feel so like such an old person when I do that because that's a lot of the stuff that they have to do in therapy once they break a hip or whatever, but it's such a preventative measure because you can't assume that you 5 years later is going to perform like you when you were 16, and you have those muscles haven't been developed. You have to redevelop those micro and smaller muscles and let them heal too.
Right. And I feel like that's just kind of adds to the integrity of your body as you get older.
Yeah.
It's just like if you get those little tiny muscles, you have that slight advantage over somebody that doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting way to look at things, I think.
And if you neglect that, I mean, that's how all those injuries happen with pretty much anyone you know. It's like, oh, how did that happen? How did you tear your bicep? How did you hurt your wrist? It's like,
Biceps scare me, dude.
yeah, I know you've got a big fear of that
I have
one.
a fear of biceps.
But it's the neglect of those little exercises. They make all of the difference. You're never gonna see like, man, dude, you've got great wrist muscles. But it's
Right.
it's like, no, you need to be building up those tendons and
Well,
uh,
especially in your legs. I mean,
yeah,
you are the expert on that. You
I would not call myself an expert.
Well, I mean, you're the one that trains the most on it, just
Yeah.
in like ankle and knee stability and stuff like that. But the other thing is stretching. You know,
Yeah, I like stretching.
you do like stretching a lot. I have not stretched like I need to. I'm gonna be honest, but I need to get into it because that just
Yeah.
plays into
Yeah.
what we're talking about, functional strength. If you're not stretched out, lengthening those muscles, it's not going to be good.
A little bit of a sidebar too. I'll mention with ultra running, I think a big difference. I've had like lower back problems since high school, like just back pain, whatever, from extended lifting, from long running. I trained abs really hard, like every single day while I was training for my ultra, um, besides when I was sick. And I think that made a big difference. I had no back problems. That was like dumbfounding to me because it was always like, what was my limiting factor in high school was my back is hurting. And so I think that just goes to show is like building up the supporting muscles as well. It's not all just those giant muscle groups. That by me strengthening my abs, it really took a lot of the pressure off of my back. And I think that's so true with a lot of other muscle areas in our bodies too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things. I mean, we could talk about this all day, but
Yeah.
you know, it's something that we need to all look into at some point in our lives. Sooner rather than later is probably better.
We implore you, if you're listening, please take your body into your own hands and really make a difference here.
Yeah. Figure it out, people.
Get it
Jeez.
together, guys.
Functional strength.
Yeah. Okay.
Functional strength.
As we wrap up, shout out player card. John and I were in the news this week.
We were on Cake News.
Yeah, the local news here in Wichita.
Yeah.
They did a nice little feature on us, and they had Sid McKinney, one of the star softball athletes here, join us for the feature. That was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. But before we jump into that, before we get off the topic of running and stuff like that,
Okay.
you asked me about my marathon. What is your kind of next step before we get into the news?
So I don't have it firm and planted yet. I tossed out on my Instagram story today. Here's what I've accomplished this year physically. What do you guys think I should do next? There's a lot of things I'd like to do in 2023. I do think I'm gonna go after a 100-miler though.
Yeah, I think that's a great goal.
And I'm scared because doing the 50, it was so hard. And the idea that when Evan and I woke up at 4:45 to eat cookies, we literally said, dude, the people doing the 100, they're probably like mile 75 right now if they're running our pace or whatever. Like the idea that you're out there all night, no one else is really out there. It's just you and your headlamp. I'm pretty scared of the 100, but I think that's all of the reason why I needed to do it.
A whole nother beast.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to throw that out there for the people.
No, yeah, you're good. The people appreciate it, I'm sure.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, before we get into the news too, been meaning to mention this beautiful hat right here that I'm wearing, Venture Mentality hat, the brand I started in high school, still available for sale on the www.venturementality.com website. I think it goes hand in hand with like the race discussion that we had, and that brand has really been representative of the type of person that I want to be, the lifestyle that I want to live. And so if you guys are interested, I just wear it every episode and it's in a lot of my Instagram pictures, but I never remember to mention that you guys can actually get your own if you'd like to have one. So it's on the website.
They're
Yeah,
sweet hats. They're pretty cool hats.
you wear yours a lot and I
I
appreciate
do.
that.
I've beat the heck out of mine.
Yeah.
And now it's not black anymore. It's kind of like a brownish gray.
But like that's whenever like you've put the work into it. And that's what I
Yeah.
love about it is like seeing a dirty Venture Mentality hat means that someone has been wearing it and doing hard stuff.
Darn right, man. Darn right. So
Anyways, yeah, you're famous, dude. I guess I am
the
too.
news. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got noticed today. How about
That was weird.
That was odd.
We were helping some of our friends move out of an office space, and we were walking into a different office space, and the receptionist secretary lady there was like, "Do I know you?" And I was like, I didn't really know how to answer." She was like, "Wait a second, you were on the news, weren't you?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess I was."
Yeah, it was pretty cool to get noticed on like from the news. That was awesome. It's
Yeah.
cool to see yourself on the news too, because it's like
It was weird.
all of Wichita is seeing this.
Yeah. I'll tell
It's
you what
still
though,
weird.
the big thing for me was the player card backdrop in the background. I felt like it looked so good, so professional.
Even Jackson mentioned it.
I
I thought that
know.
was pretty cool.
You know,
Jackson is the journalist, I
Yeah.
guess. I guess you call him a journalist
Yeah.
who did the feature. So
I got to pull this up here. This is going to be my LinkedIn post, and I'll show you.
oh, he's plugging the LinkedIn post. What a guy.
Well, not really necessarily plugging directly the LinkedIn post, but here is the picture.
At the Jacob OC on LinkedIn.
No, it's literally your name on LinkedIn. Here's Cindy McKinney's picture. Look at that player card. I mean, it's not wrinkled in the frame. It's so smooth. The colors look great. I mean, that is personal branding at its finest right there.
Darn right. Darn right. It was pretty cool.
So yeah, I just needed to share that.
And we did that here at Groover Labs in Wichita, Kansas.
Shout out to Groover Labs. You guys are the best. Kurt and Tracy, sincerely appreciate you and everything that you've done for John and I and Player Card as a whole.
If you guys are a startup or if you guys run a business, officing out of Groover Labs gives you a lot of opportunities with, you know, people in the community and other startups here.
Yeah,
so
a lot of resources.
Really cool. If you're looking for an office space, definitely look at Groover.
Yeah, this is not an ad in any way. I'm not getting paid for this. I genuinely mean that.
Yeah.
They're great people and this is a great place.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, we were in the news. We got a lot of work ahead of us, but that was kind of a cool acknowledgement.
Yeah, it was. It kind of gives you like a good feeling after you do all this hard work, and we've been working at it for so long.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you know, maybe people are noticing and the community's noticing a little bit.
Having a positive impact, man. We're doing it.
Darn right.
Also want to shout out my good friends, the DeSicos. Still trying to get episodes lined up with them. Their schedule's been hectic, but they just released their new energy drink. I believe it's called like Super Energy or something like that.
Sweet.
They're the founders of Super Coffee. Super cool story. Started out the youngest brother's dorm room. All three of them are former college athletes, and they just released an energy drink. So go support the boys. Again, that is not an advertisement. That's just a personal plug. Really appreciate the work they're doing too.
Yeah. One last plug. Rob Gerlach.
Oh, what'd he do?
I don't know, but he's just a good guy, helping us out a lot.
You know, Rob Gerlach is a good friend and a good mentor, and yeah, he's just been good in general.
Yeah, he's been a good guy for us.
You know, a shout out to Rob and Quinn because they've been running with us while I was training for my ultra. They ran with us. They did some ice baths. Good for them.
Darn right, man. That was pretty cool of them to do.
You know what? Final plug. There's a bourbon raffle going on right now.
Man, we're going all the way around
with Nextus, which is a local startup resource here in Wichita. Again, this is an unpaid plug, but they are auctioning off $15,000 worth of bourbon, and
one person is going to win all that too.
Right. All you do is purchase $100 ticket, and you get $15,000 worth of bourbon if you're that one lucky person. So. Yeah, that again, it's just a plug. Doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to base out of Wichita. Anyone can do this. And I think the raffle ends, I want to say like next week or something.
The 30th, I believe.
The 30th. So,
I think it's the 30th is the drawing.
Yeah. So go ahead and get your ticket real quick here. I would say their website is probably www.nextus.io is their website. So go ahead and
plug it in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll plug it in the show notes. You can find John on Instagram. Where, John?
At the John P. I got ahead of myself.
You want to spell that for the people because you're a unique John.
TheJonPete.
Nice. Find me on Instagram at the Jacob OC, TheJacoboc. And then there is a Instagram page for the podcast. It's at real.conversations. So I've been uploading some content there. And go ahead and check it out.
Check these beards, people. Just one final thing. You can cut this if you don't want, but check this beard.
It's hard to see because of like how dark it is. Like my beard's not that dark, I don't think.
It's getting pretty long.
You know, we've been doing this. We've been doing this every year since we were 16.
That's a long time.
I was a sophomore in high school, man.
It's kind of sad though. Back in the day, we had no business being in No Shave November.
I know.
Taking any part in this.
I feel like in a future episode, I should pull up pictures of us in high school.
Oh god,
because I've got a couple of my No Shave November ones.
I'm not sure I do from back in the day.
It's also kind of sad because you can't really see us too well in this footage, but
there's a nice shadow right here that I think can constitute as a beard.
We've made progress over the years. The facial hair's starting to come in, man.
Next year, I think, is the year.
We've also been saying that since we were 16,
right? My senior year is going to be the year.
Oh, dude, I had a nasty goatee my senior year.
It was terrible. This basketball season, we were god awful and ugly.
Well, I was good looking. I don't know about you, but
I was ugly. And I wouldn't say that you were good looking either.
All right. Well,
we'll have to take another poll.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.